A story Swami Ananda talked about a little girl who was kind of at a recital and, was sort of scared about her recital, and people in the audience said, "Don't worry, Susie, we're your friends." So that's kind of how I feel being amongst you. It's like, oh, you're all my friends. I don't have to worry about it. But I want to try to remind all you friends, first of all, who we are. I'm Dambara, this is Lorna, this is Vajra, this is Bharati, and we are just so happy to share these teachings and these vibrations with you today. This isn't really who we are. Who we are is the divine light that emanates all the time, acting through us all, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Because I'll bet most of the time you think that your name, your person, your body, your thoughts, and the life that you have and stuff like that, and I tend to do that too. But as this reading today talked to us about, there's all these great souls that come and they seem to have this larger consciousness like Jesus, like Buddha, like Krishna, like Yogananda, on and on. And they come and they tell us the same stuff. They tell us, okay, actually who you really are is so much more than who you're thinking you are most of the time. And I'll help you try to realize that divinity, that overall light and joy that I have found. And the main thing they try to tell us is that you're no different. We're all the same. We're not like a different, separate element from each other. So Jesus, you picture him just kind of being exasperated where people were praising him, and he's just saying, you're the same thing, just like you'll do greater things than I will. All you have to do is tune into the same stuff that I did. And so that's what the spiritual path is us just remembering. There's a great word, smriti, which is divine remembrance. And that's what all the teachers, spiritual masters are trying to do, is to help us remember who we are. So first, let's kind of step back into the cosmic creation. All right, so let's do an image, just like Lorna was mentioning during purification ceremony, where that fire bowl is symbolic, actually. Yogananda said it's an outward, the sun is an outward symbol of our inner spiritual eye, our inner spiritual light, which sounds backward to us, but that's because we tend to be backward most of the time. So let's shift that. Think of an image of the sun that's just constantly radiating in all directions, not just towards us at Earth, but in all directions, radiating light and warmth, constantly, unchanging. You can think of it as unmoving, even though it's, spreading out light and stuff like that, but just constant. Okay, and then the light itself, that's part of the sun, but you can think of it as kind of an active element that's moving towards things, making things happen. Think of it as intelligent light that has the ability to create thoughts, ideas, energy, form. And then what it creates reflects that warmth of the sun, reflects the light coming to it. Okay, so that image represents, well, raised Catholic, it represents the Christian Trinity. It represents the Indian Om Tat Sat. It represents God the Father, God the Holy Spirit, or Divine Mother, or the creative vibration, and the Christ consciousness, the sun, which reflects that vibration. So what the Masters come to try to tell us is that we are that. The Trinity is, I remember this as a kid, it's 3 in 1 and 1 in 3, and it all seemed pretty cool. I didn't quite understand it, but it seemed fun. And so we're trying to understand the deeper aspect of that, which people tuned into originally, and Jesus certainly was trying to convey that to us, Yogananda, all the great ones. The idea is that we are that light. We're not separate from that. The nature of this creation is something called Maya, which is another great word that means measure. It's like chopping things up. It divides things up. So don't we feel divided up a lot of times? We're kind of worried about how am I going to fare as opposed to how am I going to get along in the midst of, it's all kind of me and that, something different than me. And what the Masters are telling us is, no, you're all just this ocean of light. And I'm not just saying that because it's a good idea. I'm actually perceiving this all as an ocean of light. They tell us that in that state of samadhi, which is a great goal, hold that thought, samadhi, we'll try to experience that today. That we experience that. We actually experience that all this difference just kind of melts and merges together, and it's nothing but light. And then the delusion happens, Maya takes over and kind of makes it all seem separate again. It's this great magic show that's all of us. But, after a while we get a little kind of tired of it. How many times can you see, Harry Potter? Harry Potter's great, but maybe the 20th, 50th time, 70th time, I don't know. It's kind of like, okay, enough drama. I want to know what the real story is. How do I experience that joy? And so what the masters tell us is that first of all, we have to get still. Because this creation that God made happens through vibration. That sun, think of it as the unmoving God the Father, the unmoving reality behind all creation that preceded creation. When it suddenly has the good idea, hey, I think I'll have a show. Let's have a show. It sends out this vibration through sound and light, which is vibration. Sound and light. That's Om. When we meditate deeply, we're trying to let all the restlessness in us, all the thoughts and everything, the emotions just kind of settle down enough to where we can actually hear that sound that's always there. There's a Swami Kriyananda posed that something he heard once, that if there was a sound that was with you from the moment you were born and was there constantly all throughout your life and was there after you passed on, unchanging, what would be another name for that sound?
Silence.
Silence? That's a good name for it. Or Om is another name for it, because it's always there. And if we get quiet enough, we can hear it. So in meditation, a lot of spiritual paths, the highest technique they have is just being quiet enough to where you can hear the sound of Om inside. And what Om does is it reminds you where we came from. It reminds you that, oh, wait a minute, I'm not just this thing that's sort of locked up into the separateness, that I'm actually that creative sound. And what that sound does is it dissolves the edges. It dissolves the box that we think we are. And suddenly we realize, whoa, wait a minute, I'm more than this. Not only that, but I'm you, and you, and you. And I'm the same light that created all of us. I'm the same ocean that created all these different seeming waves. And that's pretty cool, huh? So, meditation is the way that we experience that. And we do that as often as we can, but ideally twice a day. We try to get to that still point. So that song that we did earlier on, Song of the Nightingale, did you read the lyrics in that? So the idea in there is that in the midst of all this life that happens, because most of us can't just say, oh, okay, I get it, it's all about being still, I'll go to the cave and I'll just be there for the rest of my life. That's great if you can do it. But most of us are called to a life where we're engaged, we have responsibilities, we have families, we have light that we're trying to share with the world that needs it. So we have a role here. We came here intentionally now to be active agents of this light. But in that song, for example, Song of the Nightingale, without silence, what is song? Without night, where is dawn? What that's telling us in a subtle way is that every vibration has stillness in the middle of it. So think of a tuning fork, ding, and it's vibrating, but it has a center point that it goes back and forth around. Every vibration has a center point. So if we can remember that whenever we're kind of swinging back and forth, oh, wait a minute, in the middle of that is stillness, and that's where God is. Be still and know that I am God. All these things that we see that point us to that, that's what the masters are always telling us, is just get quiet, get still, and you'll be able to perceive your divine reality. And so that's what Om is. And when we say Om Guru, things like that, it's a nice thing that we're saying, it sounds good, it's a good vibration, but it's deep. It means, great masters, those of you that have experienced this, help me experience Om. Help me experience the still point in the middle of vibration. Help me experience the truth of who I am. Bring me back home again. So in the midst of the Super Bowl over at David LeBreur's house today, as wild seeming as it says, swinging back and forth, every once in a while, just, oh yeah, that's right, Om. That's what created all this. All this excitement, all this drama. How will this turn out? Will we make it this time? Will I make it through this day? We're so much beyond that. I'll tell you a story that I'm copying from Ananda, who told it last year at Ananda Village, but it's about Krishna. And Krishna was an actual avatar. Today's reading was about avatars. And these are simply, like us, these are people that have done the spiritual practices enough to where they actually got still enough, to where they actually perceived God inside, expanding them beyond their limitations. Their bundle of self-definitions, as Swami Kriyananda called the ego, bundle of self-definitions. So it helped them realize who they are beyond that bundle of self-definitions, to the point where they actually realized that. And they were able to carry that, act a normal life, but with that realization. And then, stage by stage by stage, you kind of free yourself up from all limitations to where you are simply an agent of God, a pure channel of God's light. And when you're at that point, and then you leave this life, usually consciously, you can sometimes decide, you know what, okay, being melted in divine bliss is great. I wouldn't trade for anything. But there's so many people out there that don't remember who they are that I really feel for them. I want to come back and help them just like people helped me. So those are avatars. Avatars are people that consciously choose to come back and help us become like them. So we're talking people like Jesus, Yogananda, Buddha, on, Krishna. These are people that are able to help thousands, millions, an indefinite number of people that will simply tune into their vibration. Doesn't have to be that they're still in the body. That's great if they are, but there's fewer avatars than there are all of us. So rather than kind of waiting around till we see one, we can always tune into them because they're not limited to the body. They're infinite. They're here now, right here. Where Jesus said, where 2 or 3 or more are gathered, there I am in the midst of them. He was talking the Christ consciousness. The Christ consciousness is simply reflecting that divine light. You realize who you are. That's what Jesus was saying all the time, and it confused people. You're saying you're God. Well, read the scriptures. Doesn't it say you're gods? Oh, well, I don't get it. But that's right, because you're not meditating. So just do that, practice it, and you begin to realize these things. And those of you that do that, is that, the more we practice it, the more joy we feel. And I will get to that story of Krishna right now. So Krishna was a divine avatar. And he lived way back when, I don't know how many thousands of years ago, but he was a real, actual person. And it was God expressing through him all of his life. He played the part of a little baby. There's lots of stories about him as a cute baby and the divine fun pranks that he expressed. And then he became a young boy, he became a king, became a warrior. Lots of stories connected with that. But this is one of those wonderful Indian stories about how Krishna and Brahma interacted with each other. Now, Brahma is the creator of the universe. Actually, it's funny. We'll segue here. Swami Kriyananda said once that the role of Brahma and Vishnu and Shiva, which is the creator, the preserver, and the dissolver of creation, that these roles can be played by different beings at different times. Whoa, wait a minute. So that you may be called, Vajra, you may be called at some point to play the part of Brahma in some future incarnation. And then you'll trade it over to Darshana, And then David will be Shiva, and he'll switch over and give it to Sharon sometime later. So that's kind of a fun thing. You can sort of get ready to play that role. But so anyway, Brahma at the time, he was sort of like doing his thing, just sort of managing all creation with the trillions of galaxies and such. But he noticed that Krishna down there, in Vrindavan, back in India, that there was this divine being, and all these people were just feeling such love emanating from Krishna, and they were just so devoted, and they were dancing with joy, and feeling pure devotion, taking care of the cows that they did, and just having their idyllic life. But Brahma was a little jealous, as these stories go. And he thought, everybody's kind of focusing on Krishna, they're forgetting about me, so I think I'm going to play a little prank here. I'm going to take all these kids, they were at the time, and all the animals, the cows, and everything else, and I'm going to just kind of secrete them over in a cave and put them to sleep. And then we'll see how devoted people are to Krishna. So he does that. And then he kind of goes away and keeps managing the universe for a while. Maybe a year or so later, in cosmic terms, he comes back and he says, I wonder how things are going on in Vrindavan. I think I'll check. And he looks and he's kind of scratching his cosmic head because the kids are still, they're there. The kids are still there. And the cows are there, and the animals, and everybody's kind of living their normal lives. The parents haven't missed them or anything. And furthermore, the kids are just expressing this kind of, maybe a higher level of joy. than they used to. And they're in harmony with each other. Even playing the schoolyard, they're just totally getting along all the time, getting along with their teachers, appreciating them. Kids are just loving their parents, appreciating them fully all the time. You know? So, and the milk from the cows just tastes a little sweeter than it ever did before, even though it was always good. So Brahma's kind of puzzling over this. Doesn't understand it. Decides to go back to his office for a while and kind of mull it over. And he goes to where the guard is, you know, at the Brahma station there. And the guard says, wait. You can't go in there. Brahma says, excuse me, I'm the creator of the universe, this is my office. And the guard says, I don't know what you're talking about because Brahma's in his office. So you're going to have to stay here, even though you look kind of like him, but I'm sorry, I can't let you in. At that point, Brahma begins to understand. Wait a minute, I get it. Krishna, it is that is acting through all these people. Krishna, it is that is acting through me. At that point, he lets go, bows to Krishna, bows at his feet, and says, I'm sorry, Lord, I forgot. You know, I got caught up in my ego and thought I was separate, so thanks for awakening me. So sweet, isn't it? So this is what the masters are coming to tell us, that it's God playing all of us. That this is the great movie of life starring God. And we're playing the parts on God's behalf. He's playing through us, and it's not separate. The sun and the light and the reflection of that light are not separate. So the best thing we can do is to tune into that still point of remembrance whenever we're swinging back and forth. Just, oh, that's right, I remember. Thank you, Krishna. I remember it's you acting through me. And when we listen to the songs that refer to that, when we start off our Festival of Light that says, the voice of God calls us to awake in Him. I think you can meditate on that for the rest of your life. The voice of God, Om, that vibration, calls us to awake in Him. How will He find us when He comes?
Awake and ready.
Okay, so every week, that's what that's about. Just remember who we are. And now we're going to sing a song that will help us remember that, which you have lyrics to, which is all about that cosmic vibration of Om. So as you listen, tune into it. Yogananda says in the Cosmic Chants book that actually has this song in it, he says, chant a Om song when you want to invoke the divine creative vibration of sound of Om and that creative power, and when you want to awaken the six cerebrospinal centers, the inner chakras. So the more you can remember this, and during the song we'll do it, it's all about divine remembrance. Okay, so let's try it.